Brother Marines, we have returned again on this day, today, the day to find out how Lionel Johnson became the ultimate scourge of the traitors. I'm intrigued. Let's find out more. The Primarch of the Dark Angels has returned to write a new chapter. Wait, I thought his chapter were the Dark Angels. In his illustrious history of head-taking, but to really understand the legend who has stepped out of the mists of time and into the 41st millennium, we need to take a look at his early years. There's little baby Lion. He already had that facial hair beginning to develop. And here's his Space Marines, it looks like, and they've got white and red and castles, very fancy, lion shields. The boy who would become the Lion landed on the death world of Caliban, a world close to the Eye of Terror and covered in forests, stalked by great beasts of chaos. The forest was certain death to all who ventured in alone, but the Lion survived for a decade before he was found by a band of Calibanite knights. One of their number, Luther, spared this feral youth and brought him back to the headquarters of his order, where the Lion quickly distinguished himself as a brilliant fighter and tactician. There's an asterisk, so I guess we'll have to check that out in a moment. His oratorical and military skills united the orders of Caliban into a planet-spanning crusade that wiped out the mutated beasts for good. Shortly before the Emperor arrived to collect his son for a greater crusade amongst the stars, and here we see Lionel Johnson. He's apparently taller than a dreadnought, unless that dreadnought is just lower down. That just kind of looks like one of the Space Marine figures. I mean, it would, because it's a Space Marine, but that really just kind of looks like that's a picture of a toy. But either way, moving forward. Ever a man of action, the Primarch won the loyalty of his legion by dueling the captains for each company. His first campaign, the Rangdan Xenocides, won him a reputation as a frighteningly effective warlord, albeit too wrapped up in secrets for many of his brother's tastes. Though many of the other Primarchs recognized his brilliance and saw in him the makings of a war master, others bristled at his coldness. The infamous rivalry between the Dark Angels and the Space Wolves arose when Lionel Johnson struck down a rebel commander whom Leman Russ had sworn to kill. Not wanting the Fenrisians to make or muck up a plan he'd been concocting for days, an all-out brawl broke out? Really? Who's writing these now, when the wolf aired his grievances to the lion? The brothers wrestled for a day and a night until, realizing the absurd circumstances of their dispute, Russ broke out in laughter. But not amused in the slightest, the lion knocked him out cold before swiftly departing the planet. Is that him after knocking him out cold? He's all walking away and all regal. When the heresy broke out, Horus did all he could to keep the Dark Angels occupied on the far end of the galaxy. After an egg-on-face moment, where the Lion traded some critical siege weapons to Perturabo, oops, he got embroiled in a campaign against the Night Lords on his way to Terra. The two legions scrapped across the edge of the galaxy, until the Dark Angels were forced, by the Ruin Storm, to relocate to Ultramar. Here, he continued his hunt for Conrad Kurz, and clashed constantly with Robute Gilliman over policy decisions on Macragge. See, he's very pompous, and he's very proper. You can see his higher class having his nose raised at approximately a 15-degree angle. Although he was ultimately too late to effect the Siege of Terra, the Lion departed quickly due to dire news from Caliban. Luther, the person who, I suppose, found him, he was the Calibanite knight, we'll just remember him that way, who had been sent back to aid recruitment efforts, had apparently thrown in with chaos and rent the Legion in two, turning traitor with a massive cohort of Dark Angels. Lionel Johnson reacted about as well as you'd expect, smashing into Caliban's defenses so furiously that the chaos-tainted planet itself began to crack. The apex of the battle came, as Luthor and the Lion dueled in their Old Order's monastery, finally shattering Caliban until all that remained was an asteroid surrounded by a powerful void shield. Of the Primarch there was no sign. He had disappeared, taken by the Wanderers in the Dark, or whatever they're called. Now, 10,000 years later, the Knight of Caliban is ready to rise again and make Chaos wish they'd finished him off the first time. Your first chance to get a hold of this phenomenal new miniature comes in a sumptuous box set including 3 Blade Guard veterans. Wow, 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 wow. A perfect retinue for such a martial paragon. A martial paragon. Got it on the second try. And 2 art prints from Arcs of Omen the Lion. Wow, 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 wow. Wow. And here we have the models. Wow. Of course, this being the Dark Angels, many questions remain. Arcs of Omen the Lion arrives soon with some answers at your local GameStop. At your local Games Workshop, not at GameStop. It's not going to be at GameStop, I swear. If you go there asking for the new Lionel Johnson model, they will probably try to sell you like a used 3DS or something. Don't go there. Unless you really want to, maybe. I don't know. We've not really established that yet. Read Descent of Angels. That's right. Read Descent of Angels. And then that's how, yeah.
Everyone go and check out Slave's channel.